When a man lives under government, he is fallen, his worth is gone, and his nature tarnished. Johann Weishaupt. Good evening, everybody. This is going to be a fun one. So I actually made a PowerPoint presentation for this, but let's just start with the browser real quick. Why I'm doing this in my backup channel for live streams, and of course you could watch always on Twitch. And DLive, except none of the videos will get saved to watch later. You can watch any of my saved videos on LBRY, LBRY. All right, so yeah, so I have a strike until March 6th of 2021. I cannot even upload any videos. Let's see, let me drag and drop a video and test it out because I would like to upload my videos. Let's see, recordings, videos, recordings, and oh wait, it's that one. Let's see. I hope this works because I could not upload before, and this is right. Yeah, okay. All right, if this works, you can actually watch my videos. And on my main channel, which is going to be great because I don't want to upload like 20-30 videos in March. But let's see here. I need to get my content from my other channel. Yeah, you can't see what I'm doing yet. Let's put live, and I'm just going to put the title and description, and let's see, let's do thumbnail. It's been a while. There we go. And nope. Oh, did it? Well, let's just see. Next. Monetization. Sure, why not? I monetize on my main channel. I don't monetize on my backup channel. And I noticed that my main channel has a lot of videos that get taken down. Plus, what's fun is watching the videos that get shown on my main channel. And it's almost in direct opposition to everything that I actually put videos on. All right, awesome. So don't worry, it's you're able to watch all the videos. I couldn't before. I don't know why, but let's just do that again. Every time I tried before, it wouldn't work, but now it does. So at least I have it. I have it that live that it is working. So, and it wasn't before. So if it doesn't work again, I'll live stream it. And let's see. And I don't even know what I put. Everything's usually just default, so, and it always goes unlisted. Publish anyway. All right, good. Now, Johann Weishaupt. I keep almost saying Sebastian, but let's go ahead and switch it to the PowerPoint, which is here. It may be difficult for you to see. I will. The thing is, every time it somehow I just want to show the whole thing and just hide this part. The only problem. Let's see, reading view. Ah, there we go. That's better, right? That is much better. All right. So, Johann, Adam Weishaupt, enemy of the state and religion, and you can read a lot about what's said on him, even in in the conspiracy theories ones, by very much racists. But that's fine. You know, you can tell the truth and be a racist at the same time, I guess, as long as you're truthful and honest about being a racist. So here we go. And all of this, I do have links which you could watch or go to as well. All of it's found on this document. I should probably upload this so other people can go ahead and just use it for their own selves. All right, so I kind of put it in different enemies and supporters, and this is just because, well, we really don't, at least I don't know enough German to translate it, find his documents free online. There are supposedly English translation of some of his works. I didn't get to have them. I couldn't find them. Anyway, so as much as we can find as far as evidence, it's going to be mostly circumstantial evidence. Basically, people writing about Adam Weishaupt from secondhand sources. So we just have to go by that. But, you know, what the enemies and the supporters both say about Adam Weishaupt was that he was against religion and government. And even so, the supporters were Thomas Jefferson, who became third president of the United States, and Bishop James Madison, not to be confused with the President James Madison. Bishop James Madison, oh, maybe not Bishop, Reverend, no, it's Bishop. James Madison was a cousin of the President James Madison. And anyways, you're going to be able to find the letters between Thomas Jefferson and James Madison talking about Adam Weishaupt in the letters back in 1800s. So the enemies, well, the enemies at the time, I mean, he was from Germany, the Bavaria part of Germany. So he was exiled from Bavaria, and we'll get into more detail later. And then he lived the rest of his life in Gotha. Governments that were pretty enemies of him were England and France. I mean, he was. We'll get more to that. I'll get more to details, I guess, and kind of my thinking about him, based on all the people who write about him. And people who write about the people who write about him. And we'll get to that with Thomas Jefferson, James Madison. So religions, the Roman Catholicism, the Roman Catholics, they are the enemies of him. Even though, and we'll get to it, that Adam Weishaupt was schooled by Jesuits. And yeah, we'll get more to that. So Augustin Barruel, a Jesuit priest, Alexander Horn, a Benedictine monk, they're very against Adam Weishaupt. And there's probably way more than that, but the ones that we're going to go over. Protestants, G.W. Snyder, who wrote a letter to George Washington, the president, who was a reverend, and Jedediah Morse, a pastor. Both of those were Americans in the United States. Universities. So Adam Weishaupt was a professor of philosophy and at Ingolstadt University. He was fired. He was also, I think, and we'll go over this, professor of of law and canon law. So he knew enough about Catholicism from the Jesuits to become a professor of canon law, and he became that after one of the popes actually ended the reign of the Jesuits. Not actually end. What actually happened is very political. Basically, this is gonna be fun. So the Inquisition, right, was just casting a bad shadow, and so everyone was going to try to leave the Catholic Church, all these countries, because they didn't want the Inquisition around anymore, the Jesuits. And so he goes, okay, well, I'll just end the Jesuits. Instead, he just renamed it, gave him a new look. Anyways, John Robison, who's a professor of philosophy at Edinburgh University, wrote a book called Proofs of a Conspiracy Against All the Religions and Governments of Europe, carried on in the secret meetings of Freemasons, Illuminati, and reading societies. He was also a member of the Royal Society and certain secret societies, Freemasons. So a fellow brother, and he was, I guess, one of the top at that time when he joined the Illuminati. Adolf Friar Neig, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Anyways, I'll just say Neig, joined in the Bavarian Illuminati in 1780, but left in 1784, calling Weishaupt a, quote, a Jesuit in disguise, unquote. So things went bad, and you never know. I mean, all these secret societies, spies back then, even now, probably joined the Illuminati order in order to usurp it and bring it down from the inside. That's probably what happened. Now everyone gets the idea that Adam Weishaupt was the founder of the Illuminati, and that's not true. He's the founder of the Bavarian Illuminati. You know, it'd be like saying, Bavaria founded cream, right? It's like, no, they had their own interpretation of cream called Bavarian cream. They didn't find cream. I'll mention that later. So basically, the origin of the word Illuminati is luminare and illuminatus, the meaning being to light up, to illuminate. Many websites post inaccurate info such as under pop.online.fr, which I'll show, which states that original Illuminati was started by Ignatius of Loyola in 1534, a Spanish Catholic priest who is the co-founder of the Society of Jesus, or the Jesuits. The author Robert Howard placed the Jesuits with the Illuminati. Yeah. So I don't know who Robert Howard is. I wanted to find out. Unfortunately, I couldn't find it. And let's see. I'm gonna try to open that up. All right, maybe not. Dang it. Hold on. Every presenter always seems to have the same issues, don't they? Okay, so here we go. Give me a second here. It's going to also mess up the presentation, which I need to put it back in reading view. All right, and that always starts over. All right, so here we are. So now, so he's stating that basically Ignatius Loyola was the founder of Illuminati. So back in 1534, because the Jesuits wrote the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion, but that had nothing to do with Ignatius Loyola. And you'll notice that the Jesuits were not fond of Adam Weishaupt at all. They were the enemies. I put Roman Catholicism, but basically, yeah, the Jesuit part of the Roman Catholics were against Adam Weishaupt. So back here, we'll get more into the history of the Illuminati well, I guess we'll get to it now. The earliest written account of the Illuminati was that of the Alumbrados, which is Spanish for illuminated. So he's thinking, okay, 1534, and were practitioners of a mystical form of Christianity in Spain during the 15th through 16th century. So it does a little bit earlier than Ignatius Loyola. They were victims of the Spanish Inquisition. So again, Robert Howard writes that Ignatius Loyola, a Jesuit, who we're the ones persecuting others with the use of the Inquisition. Maybe not the Spanish Inquisition, but I'm pretty sure they had a hand in it. If not, they were they got the idea from the original Inquisition. So they're victims of the Spanish Inquisition. The earliest trace of Alumbrados is found in 1492 by historian Marcelino Menendez y Pelayo, and traced the group to a Gnostic origin. And so if you look at Alumbrados, and let's go to Wikipedia. You know, it really depends on what you want to look at, but you can see here, and I'm going to bring it to 200%, and so you can see in the browser. Historian right here talks about it. So if you go to the historian, you get to know that he was born in 1856, died in 1912. He was a Spanish scholar, historian, and literary critic. So he was nominated for the Nobel Prize in Literature 5 times. So that, as far as any historian that people have looked into, the earliest that they can find was in this book, because it kind of wrote a history of the Spanish back at that time, and noted that, hey, there's some group called the Alumbrados, and Alumbrados, and you know what's said about them in the wiki is was Spanish pronunciation. Illuminated was a term used to loosely describe practitioners of the mystical form of Christianity in Spain during the 15th or 16th centuries. Some Alumbrados were only mildly heterodox, but others held views that were clearly heretical. According to the contemporary rulers, consequently, they were firmly repressed and became some of the early victims of the Spanish Inquisition. So there you go. And again, just to basically, when you're looking at any type of article, try to look at different sources. Some that are like, what is this place? Who's writing it? Who's the author? How much can you find out about them? You're usually not going to. But you can find out a lot about the person who wrote about the Alumbrados, and basically the tracing of that being down to a group of Gnostic origin. Like, I want to know exactly. So I may have to try to dive into that, see if I can get English translation of Pelayo's book, and see how he traced it back. I mean, does he just say, oh, it was traced back to Gnostic origin, that was it? Or he actually had some details on how that was. So there you go. Already we find fault in a lot of information, misinformation, mind you, written by someone you don't know, giving the wrong idea of Illuminati, how it all started, and who started it. And of course, he's going to say it was the Jesuits that started it, even though the Jesuits, as we'll see, are firmly opposed to the Bavarian Illuminati and the Alumbrados, and probably even in France, which we'll get to. So the Alumbrados held that the human soul can reach such a degree of perfection that it can even in the present life contemplate the essence of God and comprehend the mystery of the Trinity. All external worship they declared is superfluous, the reception of the sacraments useless, and sin impossible in this state of complete union with God. Persons in the state of impeccability could indulge their sexual desires and commit other sinful acts freely without staining their souls. In 1525, the Inquisition issued an edict on the Alumbrados as heresy. That would be interesting to know more about the Alumbrados. To hopefully I get to find information on that. That would be interesting, but I'm pretty sure all those details are purged, or a lot of misinformation is done on account of that stuff. But we'll see. The Illuminés of France. So the movement under the name of Illuminés, I don't know if I'm saying that right, seems to have reached France from Seville in 1623 and attained some following in Picardy when joined in 1634 by Pierce Guérin, curé of Saint Georges de Roy, whose followers known as Curenettes were present in 1635. A century later, another more obscure body of Luminaires came to light in the south of France in 1722 and appears to have lingered till 1794, having affinities with those known contemporaneously in the United Kingdom as French prophets, and offshoot of the Camisards. And that's all the information I could find about the Luminaires of France. Again, so before the Bavarian Illuminati, there was the Alumbrados, sorry, I don't know why I keep saying it incorrectly, in Spain, and the Luminaires of France. So finally, I think we get to Germany. And Johann Weishaupt's new order started out being called the Order of Perfectibilists. So the perfectibilist definition is a person who believes in the perfectibility of something, especially human nature, specifically a member of the Illuminati. So he must have found some accounts of either the Luminaires or the Alumbrados, because when we looked at what the Alumbrados believed in, they also found that the perfectibility of man, right? We saw that. Oh shoot! Hold on. I remember to switch to the PowerPoint presentation. So you can see here that the human soul can reach such a degree of perfection that you can, even in the present life, contemplate the senses, etc., etc. So the Alumbrados, the Illuminés, of course, we don't really have many details of what they kind of had ideals of. And okay, Adam Weishaupt and the perfectibilist here again, the perfectibility of something. We're gonna note that perfectibility, right? When we look at the letters of Thomas Jefferson. The Bavarian Illuminati. So the perfectibilists, I guess it didn't stick. It wasn't too good, and so it was. I probably changed to the Illuminati. So to recap, from Spain's Alumbrados in 1492, and of course that somehow coincides with the founding of the Americas by Christopher Columbus, to France's Luminaires in 1623, and again in 1722. Now comes Germany's perfectibilists in 1776, and of course, what year was the United States Constitution ratified? 1776. So the Alumbrados. can you think of the I mean, when Americas were founded, and then when America was actually formed as a country, from Alumbrados to the perfectibilists, or the Bavarian Illuminati, right? So very synchronistic, I guess you could say. Okay, note that starting in 1775, the American Revolution begins and is closing down in 1776. This must have influenced Adam Weishaupt to start a similar revolution against the European governments and religious institutions. The difference is that America fought a war against remote forces. Every similar revolution that began in any country in Europe always failed. Even today in 2020, it's almost 2021, there's no country as being a constitutional republic other than the U.S. And since 1789, the U.S. has been a constitutional federal republic. So everyone tends to misuse the words of the type of democracy or government that the United States is, except because they always focus on the Constitution. But since 1789, it's been a constitutional federal republic. Because, yeah, details about that some other time, or do your own research and historical findings and whatnot. All right, Johann, Adam Weishaupt, little brief things of which you can find online on Wiki, on other people who write about him. Whether all of this is true or not, take it with a grain of salt, but just so you can see what people who write about him as far as his growing up. So at the age of 7, he started his formal education at a Jesuit school. He became a professor of law at the University of Ingolstadt in 1772 and a professor of canon law a year later. And Pope Clement the 14th suppressed the Jesuits, political reasons. We could look into that if we want. And therefore, right, non-Jesuits were able to become professors of canon law. And, you know, like, how would it take a year moving from professor of law to become professor in canon law, unless an opening occurred, right? And saying, hey, you know, we no longer need to have Jesuits as being in charge of canon law in Bavaria. You definitely know your stuff. Let's have a non-Jesuit become a professor and teach and stuff. So, of course, because of his upbringing at a Jesuit school and because of his being a professor of canon law, a lot of people assume he's a Jesuit. And then we're going to find a lot of Jesuits didn't really like Adam Weishaupt. So in 1775, he was introduced to Johann Georg Heinrich Feder. I don't know how to say his name, at the University of Göttingen. So basically, he was another philosopher, German philosopher, who were kind of against another German philosopher, Immanuel Kant. So they're both opponents of the Kantian idealism, and you know, this is all stems from the Enlightenment age, the age of reason, and man, that's just a whole other topic in itself. So anyway, on 1st of May 1776, Johann Adam Weishaupt founded the Illuminati in the electorate of Bavaria. He adopted the name of Brother Spartacus within the order. Now, imagine that. Someone who that you're saying is going to found like this conspiracy, one world government, one world religion, right? Adam Weishaupt was against government, against religion, and we're going to see more into that. Both the enemies state that, and both his supporters state that. So do you really think that the Illuminati from Bavaria, from Adam Weishaupt, has done all of this in order to get a one world religion, one world government? It seems the opposite, right? He's exactly the opposite of what he wanted is occurring. But all of it is attributed to Adam Weishaupt. But if you look into it more, you'll see, look, who as their adopted name would want to be called Spartacus if you're going to want to control the world? I mean, Spartacus was a slave, a gladiatorial slave back in Rome that led a slave revolt against Rome. Doesn't make sense. Basically, he wanted the name of Spartacus because he was against government and Holy Rome at that time. He was against the religious ideals, you know, that supported Rome. I mean, Rome was very meshed with religion. And Rome today, of course, very much steeped in religion still. So, yeah. He could have used any other nickname, but for his order. But Spartacus was his nickname. All right, Spartacus is a good name. I named my last dog Spartacus. And what's funny is I'm very much against Rome, right? Um, Even before all of this, I was against Rome. Big fan of Spartacus. I'm sure a lot of people are. And I worked at that time for a company called Rome, but it wasn't ROME. It was ROAM, Rome Data. And I just thought it was funny, because they made a lot of puns. The owner of Rome Data made a lot of puns about how they're like Roman. And I'm like, my dog's name is Spartacus, just so you know. All right. Johann Adam Weishaupt to continue. So in 1777, he becomes initiated into a Masonic lodge. So about a year later, half a year later, we don't really know, half a year later to a year and a half, he becomes initiated into a Masonic lodge. So after he formed the Bavarian Illuminati, the Perfectibilis. And note that some say that he was kind of introduced to Freemason in 1776 or earlier, and so he was impressed and therefore thought of starting his own order and wanted to probably see how it was to join another order. So this Baron Adolf Neig joins Weishaupt's Illuminati in 1780. When we look into it more, he joined earlier than the Masonic Lodge, earlier than he joined the Illuminati. But we'll see that there's notes that he became very toxic against Johann Adam Weishaupt by 1784, and that led to the eventual collapse of Weishaupt's Illuminati. So in 1785, right, he's got this rift within Weishaupt's Illuminati. So all the Illuminati lodges in Bavaria is closed. He gets exiled by Charles Theodore, the Elector of Bavaria. He receives assistance from Duke Ernest II of Saxe-Gotha-Altenburg, where he writes for the next 2 years. And that's it. 2 years, that's it. But he dies in obscurity in November 18th, 1830. So basically from... so short timeline, right? He got in 1776, he starts the Illuminati. In about 9 years, not even a decade, that Illuminati, all the lodges get closed down. He gets exiled, and basically he just writes books that he writes to everybody, right? And whoever will want to read it. And then nothing afterwards. So after like 1787, what's he doing for next 43 years? Just probably just wanting to live out the rest of life in whatever way he can. And the thing is, the opposition to Johann Adam Weishaupt doesn't come until much, much later. Right? He's done in 1787, basically. 1787, he's out of the game. Just nothing from him. No one knows what's going on. So, wow. All right, so we learned a lot of the original enemies, I guess you could say. We haven't really gotten detail yet, but we will. But the current modern conspiracy against Adam Weishaupt is Nesta Webster, William Guy Carr, Myron Fagan, Tal Brooke, who's the president of the Spiritual Counterfeits Project, SCP, countless unknown content creators with high numbers of subscribers and views that don't do their due diligence. All talk about Adam Weishaupt and him starting the entire idea of takeover of prominent positions to form a unified world government or world religion. That is utterly false. If you just do your own research, because we're going to go into the details. And we'll go into the quotes right after. Basically, this is just going to be a long browser session. So, Augustin Barruel, okay, he's going to be, we're going to look at the letters of Thomas Jefferson and Bishop James Madison. So, Augustin Barruel, you're going to notice his name being mentioned. He's a French publicist and Jesuit priest. So do you think Barruel was in favor of Adam Weishaupt or not? No, I don't think so. He's mostly known for setting forth the conspiracy theory involving the Bavarian Illuminati and the Jacobins in his book Memoirs illustrating the history of Jacobinism, published in 1797. Now remember, around 1787, Weishaupt's done. He was exiled. He wrote for 2 years, and he disappeared. A decade later, Augustin Barruel goes, "Hey, there's this guy named Adam Weishaupt. You know, he's got this grand plan." And Alexander Horn, or maybe not this one, Alexander Horn. Right here, a Scottish Benedictine monk who became a British secret agent and diplomat. Again, enemies, England, another enemy, religion. You know, his work contributed to the birth of the conspiracy theory of the Illuminati. Because he's the one that actually helped John Robinson, who wrote proofs of a conspiracy against Adam Weishaupt and the Bavarian Illuminati. And so basically, John Robinson's idea of this conspiracy was based on Alexander Horn. Can I see John Robinson's? Do they have a? Yeah, they do. So here's John Robinson, who's British physicist, mathematician, professor of natural philosophy at the University of Edinburgh. So, right, he's proofs of conspiracy 1797. Basically, Freemasonry being infiltrated by Weishaupt's order. In fact, it was the other way around. So basically, you got a scapegoat. So Freemasonry today is using a scapegoat of the Bavarian Illuminati, which they helped shut down a long time ago, saying, "Hey, all of this stuff is happening because of this secret order called the Illuminati," which, you know, they're going towards a world government, one world religion, and what the thing is, the one who wants the one world religion, one world government, are the Freemasons. All right, the Jesuits as well. So, see, the secret monk, see, in this part, of course, you're going to have to read in the references by Mike Dilworth, who wrote about Alexander Horn. Towards the end of his life, he became an enthusiastic conspiracy theorist, publishing proofs of a conspiracy in 1797, alleging clandestine intrigue by the Illuminati and Freemasons. The work's full title was Proofs of a Conspiracy Against All the Religions and Governments of Europe. So, we got an enemy of Adam Weishaupt saying, well, there's a conspiracy that someone's going to want to get rid of all the religions and governments of Europe and possibly in the rest of the world. And a lot of people are going, hey, that's a good thing. We don't want, because at that time, deism, D-E-I-S-M, was becoming very well spread about, and people were agreeing with it more than they were of all the organized religions, fighting over, you know, you've got the Inquisition, the Spanish Inquisition, you got the Jesuits, you got all these members of religious organizations that are ahead of government organizations. You got all these governments that are controlling, and finally you got like the United States is like, we're gonna just, you know, rule ourselves and try not to have any type of government if we can help it. And so the spread of deism in the United States, that's just almost the whole topic of deism is a not even one live stream. It would probably take 5 or 6. It's pretty deep. But anyways, we'll get to deism later. So here it says, the secret agent monk Alexander Horn provided much of the material for Robinson's allegations. And here, French priest Abbé Meroul independently developed similar views that the Illuminati had infiltrated continental Freemasonry. And again, we know that the French priest is a Jesuit. leading to the excess of the French Revolution. In 1798, the Reverend G.W. Snyder sent Robinson's book to George Washington for his thoughts on the subject. We'll go into that as well. So here's the John Robinson's Proof of Conspiracy. I'm not going to read it. You can go and read it. And basically, all you need to do is find, it's like, well, what was Adam Weishaupt up to with the Illuminati? Oh, it was, you know, a conspiracy against all the religions and governments, because people should not be under the thumb of any of those. So Jedediah Morse, geographer, father of the, anyways, he was another proponent of anti-deism and anti-Illuminism, with G.W. Snyder. Now, when you read the thing from G.W. Snyder to George Washington, of course George Washington just says, you know, thank you for the book, whatever. You know, I haven't really heard anything so nefarious as that happening. You know, this is in 1798. Again, he's gonna be like, well, he wrote about. They should probably know more about him than they did. Basically, remember, this is gonna be about 11 years after Adam Weishaupt just kind of stops writing and you know, isn't really heard from again. You know, like, oh well, maybe he just failed in Europe and just wants to start in the U.S. Highly doubtful. Anyways, we'll get to more about Niag later, but here I want to focus on Thomas Jefferson to Bishop James Madison. This is the 31st of January in 1800. Now this is where it gets juicy, because this is finally contemporaries, so it's still about 13 years after Adam Weishaupt just kind of disappears from after writing all those things after he was in exile. So he goes to Bishop James Madison. Dear sir, I've received your favor of the 17th and communicated it to Mr. Smith. I lately forwarded you a letter from Dr. Priestley endorsed with a book. I struck these words through with my pen because no book had then come. It is now received and shall be forwarded to Richmond by the first opportunity. But such opportunities are difficult to find. Gentlemen going in the stage not liking to take charge of a package which is to be attended to every time the stage is changed. The best chance will be by some captain of a vessel going around to Richmond. I shall address it to the care of Mr. George Jefferson there. So they're just kind of getting rid of, you know, all the goings on real quick. So now they're going to get into more of like, you know, what have they been reading? What have they been contemplating? So he goes, I've lately by accident got a sight of a single volume, the 3rd edition of the Abbe Barruel's Antisocial Conspiracy, which gives me the first idea I've ever had of what is meant by the Lumitism, against which Illuminati Morse, as he is now called, and his ecclesiastical and monarchical associates have been making such a hue and cry. Now, again, if you've probably looked into what's his name? I watch a lot of Alan Watts' stuff, right? How in the United States, how we've got a democratic form of government, how people who are in the U.S. who believe in this type of government, how they could also believe in the monarchical God, right? That everything else is hierarchy of monarchy, but you know, the U.S. is the exception. So I just think it's funny that Thomas Jefferson thinks the same thing, understands the same thing. Anyways, Barruel's own parts, and again, Barruel is the French Jesuit priest, owns parts of the book are perfectly the ravings of a bedlamite. Bedlamite back then is just a term what you call a crazy person, a madman. But he largely quotes from Weishaupt, whom he considers as the founder of what he calls the order, as he may not have had an opportunity of forming a judgment of this cry of mad dog, which has been raised against his doctrines. I will give you the idea I formed from only an hour's reading of Barul's quotations from him, which you may be sure are not the most favorable. So, you got Barul, French Jesuit priest, who's really ranting against Adam Weishaupt and quotes from Adam Weishaupt. And then this Thomas Jefferson is president. He's, at this time, he's president, I think. Wait, when was Thomas Jefferson president? Let me see. Oh, he's not yet president. It's before his presidency. And you know what? I think during his presidency, he really didn't really do much against Freemasons. The idea of the Illuminati, and he's probably like, yeah, let's do it, right? Sorry. So after reading the quotes, after reading just an hour of Barul's quotes, well, he says, Weishaupt seems to be an enthusiastic philanthropist. He is among those, as you know, the excellent Price and Priestley also are. And again, Price and Priestley are held in good esteem by Thomas Jefferson and probably James Madison, who believe in the indefinite perfectibility of man. He thinks he may in time be rendered so perfect that he will be able to govern himself in every circumstance so as to injure none, to do all the good he can, to leave no government, no occasion to exercise their powers over him, and of course to render political government useless. This, is Godwin's doctrine, and this is what Robinson, Barul, and Morse, and again I went over those, all these very religious people, have called a conspiracy against all government. So, like, if you know me, this seems great. It's like, finally, man will become, will finally figure things out, right? It's like, why is it such a bad thing in Abrahamic religions as to become as good of a man as, or woman, or, human as you can be? It's like, no, you can never be that. You should never attempt it because you are full of sin, or you're made badly. And if we're made by God, then you made a mistake. See, it just doesn't make logical sense. That's why deism is so important, because once you use your logic, it makes no sense. Everything is always contradicting itself as far as all the religions that are out there. It constantly contradicts logic, right? All right, so he goes, Weishaupt believes that to promote this perfection of the human character was the object of Jesus Christ. Now this is a big difference. This is not atheism, right? A lot of religious people who are against deism are also against atheism, and just puts deism into the whole cannery of deism. It's just horrible. That his intention was simply to reinstate natural religion, right? Not organized man-made religion, but natural religion. And by diffusing the light of his morality, to teach us to govern ourselves. So not to rely on government. So the whole idea, right? That Adam Weishaupt wanted to install one world religion, one world government. Utterly false. That's the opposite, and in fact, the ones who probably shut him down are the same ones who are in power now, and the same ones getting everything to the point of one world religion, one world government. See? So, just like a whole bunch of things when you're on this path, where you're doing your own research, you'll notice a lot of inversion occurring. And once I was waiting on someone to do a topic of symbolism, but I'll get to that probably because it's gonna be months before this person I talked to is gonna be able to do anything or collaborate. So I'm gonna do probably my next one is gonna be on symbolism, and it also very much matches up with deism. And we'll get into Thomas Paine later, and the detractors of Thomas Paine. Like the ones who are very against this idea of Adam Weishaupt, you're going to see the same people again against Thomas Paine and the concept of deism, or the spread of deism. All right, so again, the idea that Alumbrados or Illuminati back in Spain back in 1492 and earlier was attributed to Gnostic Christianity. We're starting to see that as far as what Thomas Jefferson is saying about Adam Weishaupt is, all right, because of just basically the detractor of Adam Weishaupt, Burrell, has all these quotes about it. So, and by teaching innocence of conduct, he expected to place men in the natural state of liberty and equality. He says, no one ever laid a surer foundation for liberty than our Grand Master, Jesus of Nazareth. So he's very much a Christian, just not a very Protestant, nor a very Jesuit Catholic one, right? He believes the Freemasons were originally possessed of the true principles and object of Christianity and have still preserved some of them by tradition, but much disfigured. So, again, Freemasons, like, hey, yeah, they figured it out. They had it right. Then all of a sudden, it just started going backwards. It got inverted. They're starting to do things wrong. Isn't that interesting? He means he proposes to effect this improvement of human nature or to enlighten men, to correct their morals and inspire them with benevolence. Secure of our success, says he. So basically, he's saying, secure of our success, we abstain from violent commotion. So, like, all right. So all of this is good stuff emanating from what Burrell says is bad, Thomas Jefferson. Now, again, Thomas Jefferson is the idealist. Once we get into Bishop James Madison will notice he's more of a realist. He goes, yeah, sure. That's all nice and great, but how are we going to get to that point? Like, if you ever get to Thomas Jefferson and more of James Madison, you'll get the idea of like, we really need to do away with slavery, but how, we should just let all the slaves go. And like Bishop James Madison going, we can't just do that, there'll just be like utter violence from that occurring. There needs to be some kind of compensation to let the slaves go and all of this stuff. Basically, they're seeing the same eye on what they wanted, what they envisioned. Very much the same as what they were going, hey, this Adam Weishaupt, he sounds like a good guy. He's like, if he was in America, he wouldn't have to do everything in secrecy. We're going to get to that. All right. To have foreseen the happiness of posterity and to have prepared by irreproachable means suffices for our felicity. This tranquility of our conscience is not troubled by the reproach of aiming at the ruin or overthrow of state or throne. As Weishaupt lived under the tyranny of a despot and priests, he knew that caution was necessary even in spreading information and the principles of pure morality. Now, right, he's saying, well, the detractors, the ones who were enemies of Adam Weishaupt, the concept of Bavarian Illuminati and being free from religion and government, saying, well, obviously, if he was doing all this in secret, it's in bad form. Of course, we see religion and government always doing things in secrecy. So in turn, they turn around, hey, you guys are doing things in secret. You guys are up to no good. That continues to this day. So the tranquility of conscience is not troubled by the reproach of aiming at the ruin or overthrow of states or thrones. And so basically he's defending Weishaupt, and he's spelling it wrong, but because he lived in a very bad government, and same thing with the priesthood over where he lived. So you have to defeat both. You're going to have to defeat the Holy Roman Emperor, Empire of Rome, sorry. So you're going to have to defeat the government, the people installed in it. You're going to have to defeat the clergy, the priesthood. You got to defeat basically, that's almost an impossible task. And, that's where everything stemmed from. So he proposed, therefore, to lead the Freemasons to adopt this object, to make the object of their institution the fusion of science and virtue. He proposed to initiate new members into this body by gradations proportioned to his spheres of the thunderbolts of tyranny. This, as has given an air of mystery to his views, was the foundation of his banishment and the subversion of the Masonic order, and is the color of the ravings against him of Robinson. I think he means Robinson. So basically, Thomas Jefferson probably also read of Robinson's conspiracy against all governments and religion, etc. All the stuff that Berulle and Morris also write about, whose real fears are that the craft would be endangered by the spreading of information, reason, and natural morality among men. So, again, deism. And again, to this day, what are governments afraid of? People will realize they don't need government, that they can govern themselves. What are religions afraid of? That there's morality outside of religious morality. In actuality, the organized religious morality is very immoral. And the ones who are preaching morality are the ones actually doing the heinous immoral crimes, but stating that other people are. Which is funny, because when you actually start reading about the Society of Jesus, the Jesuits, and how they've transformed time and time again, and the reasons for it by like the popes at that time, you're gonna read like, oh well, they kept I want to read it, find it, but basically it goes, they just, people, we can't have priests call people on being heretics and do sexual acts for them because of that. We just need priests to stop abusing their power to get all these immoral acts out of the accused. Yeah, so that's a fun one. I like that. So we might get into that at the end, just for some kicks. All right. Good stuff. This subject being new to me, I have imagined that if it be so to you also, you may receive the same satisfaction in seeing which I have had in forming the analysis of it. And I believe you will think with me that if Weishaupt had written here, in the U.S., where no secrecy is necessary in our endeavors to render men wise and virtuous, he would not have thought of any secret machinery for that purpose. As Godwin, if he had written in Germany, might have also thought secrecy and mysticism prudent. This is a very important passage. This whole letter is just a very important passage of the concept of Adam Weishaupt and the detractors of Adam Weishaupt. So basically he's saying that Weishaupt was not in a very tyrannical state with very religious, also religiously controlled state. And he wrote in the U.S., he would very much be like Godwin and just say, this is what we need. This is what we should do. He'd probably speak out in public and have all these lectures. And if the reverse were true, that basically if someone like Godwin was in Germany, he wouldn't be saying all the things this Weishaupt was saying, because, it's not going to be good for him. All the censorship, like YouTube and stuff like that. Right? All that stuff is going on. So he's very much defending Weishaupt's position, saying, this is great stuff. If it was here, we'd have these great conversations, just like as we have with another fellow who kind of shares the same ideas. And what's great here is what he does is not have Bishop James Madison just conform to Thomas Jefferson's thoughts of the subject. He wants to know Bishop James Madison's analysis of his own and see if it really actually agrees with Thomas Jefferson, or if it really, maybe Thomas Jefferson is wrong on this account. So he's just kind of waiting to see what is going to be said. And then he ends by, "I will say nothing to you on the late revolution of France." This is when Napoleon Bonaparte is doing his thing, which is painfully interesting. Perhaps then we know more of the circumstances which give rise to it and the direction it will take. Bonaparte, its chief organ. So may stand in a better light at present. I am with great esteem, dear sir, your affectionate friend and servitude, Thomas Jefferson. So in reply, in 11th of February, so about 11 or 12 days later, here's, "Dear Sir," from Bishop James Madison. "I return you many thanks for your care of Dr. Priestley's book. If an opportunity should offer for Norfolk and the book were directed to Colonel Byrd to collect, it would come safe to hand. Some merchant connected with Norfolk would take charge of it, if I doubt not attend to the safe delivery. I mention this only to save you a trouble to which I am so unwilling to expose you. I am particularly gratified with the communications and correspondence of Priestley. He stands certainly in the first grade of philosophers, physical or moral. His treatment in this country is a disgrace to common sense, and not to be opposed by everyone who has any regard or feeling for oppressed integrity and talents the most distinguished." So again, this whole fight against deism is very much talked about and saddened by those some of the founding fathers. Anyways, here we get to the response to the idea of the Illuminati and Weishaupt. So here's Bishop James Madison saying, "I am also much obliged for your analysis of Illuminatism. It is the most satisfactory which I have seen, particularly so far as it concerns Weishaupt." So he's like, dude, that is like the best answer I've heard from anyone about this guy. That's basically what he's saying to Thomas Jefferson. "I have no doubt the mysticism attached to it originated in the manner you describe." So basically, right, because he was in such a very tyrannical, controlling state of tyranny and religious tyranny as well. You know, that's why it was to be spread around in secret. "I have no doubt the mysticism attached to it originated in the manner you have described. The old-fashioned divines look out for a millennium, the modern philanthropist for the epoch of infinite perfectibility, both equally distant because equally infinite. The advancement of man to the state of perfection is like two geometrical lines which are continually approaching and yet will never touch." Excuse me. So Bishop James Madison basically is saying that this is great. This is where we should inevitably end up trying to do, but it is constantly fought against. It is constantly unachievable, but you know, we don't really get much as to why. Bishop James Madison thinks this like tangible reasons as to that. Anyways, Condorcet appears to be the ablest and at the same time equally as visionary as Godwin or any other. I cannot agree with Weishaupt that the time will arrive when no government will be necessary, because that time, upon their own hypothesis, is infinitely distant. But I do most firmly believe that the Extant religion, rightly understood and carried into full effect, would establish a pure democracy over the world. Its main pillars are equality, fraternity, justice, universal benevolence. So far, Weishaupt and myself most cordially agree. So again, Bishop, finally we got someone who's a bishop. Of course, Bishop James Madison. You know, there was great controversy at that time that, you know, when he became bishop, that he also had to establish himself as being not interfering with his duties of something that was more secular. But he was able to do it, and he was just a true founding father of understanding the need for this freedom of religion from personal freedom, natural religion, and all of this stuff. So he's basically totally agreeing with Weishaupt that you know, it should be, the end goal should be the freedom from any and every form of government. That's it. You know, same thing with religion. We should have total freedom. You know, that's kind of what the idea of the United States and the Constitution is. Let's not form a government to tell people what to do. Let's form a government to tell people what government can't do, right? And the whole concept of freedom of religion, right? Same thing. Basically, they just have to, you know, people aren't there yet. They're not quite ready. You just gotta put it in writing. You know, gotta teach them to read, make them understand that the only reason we have these provisions, the Constitution, is just to say, look, you should understand this by heart. It should be common sense. But until you understand that it's common sense, it's here for you in writing. All right, so you got Thomas Jefferson, Bishop James Madison. I'm going to finish this. I've intended to publish a discourse, which I have by me, the object of which is to prove that the true XN must be a good Democrat. It is astonishing that enemies to XY, and I think they're talking about Illuminati, and they're talking about Weishaupt. Its advocates generally are Morse is a blockhead, and again, Jedediah Morse, right? Again, a detractor, an enemy of the ideas of Adam Weishaupt, you know, blockhead. I enclosed the letter from our friend Tucker to him. You'll find that he is treated as he deserved, and within the whole tribe of sycophants. Believe me, to be Dr. Sir, with the greatest esteem and respect, your friend and servitude, James Madison. So, right. Oh, man. Again, we'll back to Jedediah Morse. So very, very great stuff when you start reading about these two legends. I wish they kept going on and on about this, but you know, they're moving on to different things, different topics of conversation. These happen to have seen all these crazies, all these blockheads, all these bedlamites, you know, saying bad stuff, and they look into the bad stuff. It's like, hey, this is good stuff. And again, just think about it. All these people, Robeson, Berulle, Morse, it's all at least a decade after Weishaupt kind of stopped writing, and he was exiled and started writing for 2 years, right? And all that stuff. And again, yeah, we went through that. Alan Browdos, I did. And yep. And Weishaupt, let's look at his Wikipedia, right? So you'll see that it was a German philosopher, professor of civil law and later canon law, and founder of the Illuminati, a secret society. And of course, again, we always conflate secret society with the mystery school, right? It should be differentiated. You know, sometimes you want to have a society secret because you don't want to be caught by what at that time, the either governments or people who will turn you in to like the Inquisition or something like that, right? So let's keep it a secret, because you know, we don't want to be burned at the stake. We don't want to be killed by a firing squad. We don't want to be exiled. So there are certain places where secrecy is done, and then there's of course the mystery schools of secret societies like Freemasonry, which in like continental masonry in the United States, why the need for secrecy when you are allowed to believe whatever religion that you want, right? You're able to maintain positions in government in the United States, even if you are whatever religious creed you're from. And thus, still, the Masons continue on with their mystery schools, right? Secret society. In a free society, they are still secret. That's like a as opposed to, hey, like, why would you want to make public, you know, all these things that are against government and religion in a very tyrannical government and religious state? Well, that's not a very good idea. It's not going to last very long. It's like the dumbest general, like, or founder of some revolutions going, hey, let's just tell the government and religious institutions exactly how we feel and how we just want them out. It's like, yeah, they're gonna say you guys are traitors, you guys are, whatever, infidels, heretics, and heathens, and all that stuff. It's like, dude, you got to be a little bit smarter than that. So, you got Thomas Jefferson, who's idealist, and Bishop James Madison, who's a realist. They're both just still agreeing on still that concept of why you would keep something like what they're trying to do secret. Much like Sam Adams and a bunch of the revolutionary starters or founders, I don't know how you would say it, but yeah, they were meeting in secret in order to stage a revolution against England at that time. It wasn't a secret society, right? It was secret in order to get to a point where they can actually have freedom. Anyways, enough about that. We'll just keep going. So, he's born on 6th February 1748 in Ingolstadt in the Electorate of Bavaria. His father was Johann George Weishaupt, and he died when Adam was 5 years old. After his father's death, he came to the tutelage of his godfather, Johann Adam Friar von Ingolstadt, who was a professor of law at the University of Ingolstadt. So basically, kind of took on the, learned from his godfather. Ingolstadt was a proponent of the philosophy of Christian Wolff and of the Enlightenment, and he influenced the young Weishaupt with his rationalism. Weishaupt began his formal education at 7 and a Jesuit school. He later enrolled at the University of Ingolstadt and graduated in 1768 at age 20 with a doctorate of law. In 1772, he became a professor of law. The following year, he married Afra Sossenhofer at Eichstätt. After Pope Clement XIV's suppression of the Society of Jesus in 1773, Weishaupt became a professor of canon law, a position that was held exclusively by the Jesuits until that time. In 1775, Weishaupt was introduced to the empirical philosophy of Johann, all this, basically what I stated in the copied word for word, basically, of the PowerPoint presentation. So, suppression of the Jesuits, and it's good to kind of read about it and, why it was done, and, how it changed. And basically, you'll find that the Jesuits are still around. They've just been changed to different wording. Let me try to find that later on. Just want to finish this. Foundation of the Illuminati. At that time, however, when there was no end of making game of and abusing secret societies, they planned to make use of this human foible for a real and worthy goal for the benefit of people, which to do what the heads of the ecclesiastical and secular authorities ought to have done by virtue of their offices. It's a quote from Adam Weishaupt. So, on May 1st, 1776, Johann Adam Weishaupt founded the Illuminati in the Electorate of Bavaria. He adopted the name of Brother Spartacus within the order. Even encyclopedic references vary on the goal of the order. She says new evidence saying the order was not egalitarian or democratic eternally. It sought to promote the doctrines of equality and freedom throughout society, while others, such as scholars, have said that the aim was to combat religion and foster rationalism in its place. The actual character of the society was an elaborate network of spies and counter-spies, each asked themselves initiatives reported to a superior whom they did not know, a party structure that was effectively adopted by later groups. Yes, Weishaupt was initiated into Masonic Lodge Theodor zum Guten Roth at Munich in 1777. His projection of illumination, enlightening the understanding by the sun of reason, which would dispel the clouds of superstition and of prejudice, was an unwelcome reform. He used Freemasonry to recruit for his own quasi-Masonic society with the goal of perfecting human nature through re-education to achieve a communal state with nature, freedom of government, and organized religion. Presenting their own system as pure Masonry, Weishaupt and Adolf Friar Nike, who organized his ritual structure, greatly expanded secret organization. So basically saying, look, white masonry got disfigured somehow. So, you know, this order is just going to correct all the mistakes that the Freemasons are doing. Contrary to Immanuel Kant's famous dictum that enlightenment and Weishaupt's order was in some respects an expression of the enlightenment movement, was the passage by man out of his self-imposed immaturity through daring to make use of his own reason without the guidance of another. Weishaupt's order of Illuminati prescribed in great detail everything which the members had obediently to read and think, so that Dr. Wolfgang Riedel has commented that his approach to illumination or enlightenment constituted degradation and twisting of the Kantian principle of enlightenment. Riedel writes, the impedance of thought and judgment required by Kant was specifically prevented by the order of Illuminati's rules and regulations. Enlightenment takes place here, if it takes place at all, precisely under the direction of another, namely that of the superiors of the order. It kind of seems contradictory. Anyways, Weishaupt's radical rationalism and vocabulary were not likely to succeed. Writings that were intercepted in 1784 were interpreted as seditious. Who says seditious but some government, right? And the society was banned by the government of Karl Theodor, Elector of Bavaria, in 1784. Weishaupt lost his position at the University of Ingolstadt and fled Bavaria. Activities in exile, he received the assistance of Duke Ernest II of Saxe-Gotha-Attenberg. I lived in Gotha, writing a series of works on Illuminism, including a complete history of the persecutions of the Illuminati in Bavaria, much like the Alumbrados with the Jesuits and the Inquisition. A Picture of Illuminism, 1786. An Apology for the Illuminati, 1786. An Improved System of Illuminism, 1787. Adam Weishaupt died in Gotha on 18th November 1830. Again, big difference gap between his last writing and his death. He was survived by his second wife, Anna Maria, and his children, Annette, Charlotte, Ernst, Carl, Edward, and Alfred. Weishaupt was buried next to his son Wilhelm, who preceded him in death in 1802. After Weishaupt's order of Illuminati was banned and its members dispersed, it left behind no enduring traces of an influence, not even on its own erstwhile members, who went on in the future to develop in quite different directions. An assessment of character and intentions. Weishaupt's character. Look, there's actually more works than they mention here. So he must have kept writing to his death, but not really related to the Illuminati. Interesting when he talks about Pythagoras in 1785. See, I need to read some of these things, but of course, maybe I just need to learn German, which I don't want to teach. Make sure my daughter and son understand German, kind of their heritage. Same with Korean. Alright, assessment of character and intentions. Weishaupt's character and intentions have been variously assessed. Some took a negative view, such as Augustin Barreau, who, despite writing that Weishaupt's goals were that of equality and liberty, together with the most absolute independence, are to be substitutes for all rights and all property, saw this as more dangerous than beneficial. And John Robison, who regarded him as a human devil, saw his mission as with the most malevolent destructiveness. Others took a more positive view, including Thomas Jefferson, who wrote in a letter to James Madison that Barreau's own parts of the book are perfectly the ravings of a bedlamite, and considered Weishaupt an enthusiastic philanthropist who believed in the indefinite perfectibility of man, and his intention was simply to reinstate natural religion, and by diffusing the light of his morality, to teach us to govern ourselves. In his defense, Weishaupt wrote a curse, I don't know how to say that yet, in 1787, a brief justification of my intentions. Translation was done by Dr. Tony Page, in which he wrote, Weishaupt's plan to educate Illuminati flowers in the highest levels of humanity and morality, basing his teachings on the supremacy of reason, allied with the spirit of the golden rule of not doing to others what one would not wish done to oneself, so that if Illuminati alumni subsequently attain positions of significant power, such as in the fields of education and politics, they could exert a benevolent and uplifting influence upon society at large. His project was utopian, naively optimistic, and he himself was certainly not without flaws of character. But neither he nor his plan was evil or violent in and of themselves. It is one of the more deplorable and tragic ironies of human history that a man who tried to inculcate virtue, philanthropy, social justice, and morality has become one of the great hate figures of 21st century conspiracy thinking. Interesting, yeah. But again, the ones who initiated the idea of conspiracy thinking, conspiracy theories, was the CIA. And a lot of the members of the CIA, especially the head, were always in secret societies. So you got a whole bunch that you could look into. Even heck, you can look into Spartacus. Like, think about that. If you're going to join an order, why would you ever take the name of Spartacus? Anyways, a lot of key people that you could look at, and you could even find all these YouTube channels when you type in Adam Weishaupt. A lot of things about him that are mostly wrong, but I think it's and the ones who seem to get the most views, right? They talk about other stuff, like even the mainstream media, right? Like Daily Beast and stuff like that. They just talk about George Washington's warning, which isn't really George Washington's warning. It's the wrong George Washington. It's George W. Snyder's warning to George Washington, who's the president. George Washington was like, whatever. Now, right, all the presidents who were Freemasons, right, they're probably, now if we looked into a lot of these later presidents, right, after George Washington, right, and after the whole fiasco of infiltrating Freemasonry, did all these Freemasons just somehow contribute to lessening formal government and controlling religion, right? No, mostly probably just had more controlling form of government. So obviously they're not really spreading the idea of the Bavarian Illuminati. We could talk more about a whole bunch of things, all the different presidents. The Anti-Masonic Party, which was, the first third party in the United States. No one ever seems to know about that history. It's right there, even in, not just in Wikipedia, but it should be in .gov site, Library of Congress, LOC.gov. Now let's get back to the PowerPoint. Some quotes from Johann Adam Weishaupt. So, people who were able to translate some of his writings, I guess. Again, this is going to all agree on what we're looking at. We're looking at the enemies and what Johann Adam Weishaupt wanted, and we're looking at his supporters, which is Thomas Jefferson, Bishop James Madison, saying the same thing. Basically different poles of opposition agreeing with Johann Adam Weishaupt, what Adam Weishaupt was trying to do, some worse later on with the modern conspiracy theorists. But basically back then they're saying, well, one group says it's not good, one group says it's good. The group that says it's not good, they were far away, thankfully, from being the founders of the Constitution in the U.S. On the other hand, the founders of the U.S., Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, they're all saying, this is a good thing. This is why we have the Constitution. This is why we have the United States of America. All right, so quotes from Johann Adam Weishaupt. When a man lives under government, he is fallen, his worth is gone, and his nature tarnished. Excuse me. I ate a lot of food recently, so still digesting. All right, and I'm talking a lot, not drinking enough. So yeah, all right. When a man lives on, this is like one of the main quotes. Short, precise, to the point. This is what he wants. Now, again, I think that I wrote more afterwards. Getting to the point of the modern conspiracy theorist of the Illuminati, that they're trying to form the New World Order, which is one government, one world government, one world religion. Obviously, it is not going for one world government. Maybe one family, right? The human race will then become one family, and the world will be the dwelling of rational men. So looking at rationality, not looking at, like, doesn't say the opposite of rational, which is irrational. It doesn't say dwelling of godly men. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say dwelling of, right? Very religious, just rational. O mortal man, is there anything you cannot be made to believe? Of all the means I know to lead man, the most effectual is concealed mystery. The hankering of the mind is irresistible. The other, illuminate the opposition. Not kill the opposition, illuminate the opposition. Because once they figure out, hey, they're not on the wrong side, they're going the wrong way, it's like, don't go the right way with you, right? Once they figure things out, they're not gonna be like, dude, why'd you tell me this bad stuff that I was doing and tell me the good stuff? Now it's like I have to right all my wrongs type of thing. It's like, that's a good thing, right? G is for grace. G is grace. The flaming star is the torch of reason. Those who possess this knowledge are indeed Illuminati. So look at what the Freemasons are telling you what the G is, and people who think they know what the G is. They'll say geometry or God or whole bunch of things, right? Gravity, they'll say. G, he says, is for grace. And when you look back on that, it's a very different interpretation of grace as to like the very Catholic or Protestant idea of grace, but in the same way, some, it's or same thing. It's the divine grace. What's beautiful, what's lovely, what's great out here. Instead of looking at the negative, let's look at the positive. That is what we're here for. Not to keep expanding the bleak, the dark, right? We just want to make things more beautiful. Appreciate the beauty that's out here. That's what we should focus on. All right. He goes, I did not bring deism into Bavaria more than into Rome, and found it here in great vigor, more abounding than in any of the neighboring Protestant states. I am proud to be known to the world as the founder of the Illuminati. So again, deism, we're getting into that concept. If you don't know, we'll talk about later in more detail in another show. For the order wishes to be secret to work in silence, for thus it is better secured from the opposition of the ruling powers, and because this secrecy gives a greater zest to the whole. So again, they don't want to keep it secret because they don't want the ruling powers to shut them down. Like what actually happened, right? They shut down all the orders lodges in Bavaria. They exiled them. They pretty much stymied the order. The great strength of our order lies in its concealment. Let it never appear in any place in its own name, but always covered by another name and another occupation. None is fitter than the 3 lower degrees of Freemasonry. The public is accustomed to it, expects little from it, and therefore takes little notice of it. So basically, don't go up the higher ranks of Freemasonry, stay in the lower degrees. Just stay unassuming, right? And just get the public accustomed to all these little changes. And eventually they'll be like, oh, whoa, all these things, that's awesome. I never knew about that. They're starting to understand and have a little bit more reason. It's like, hey, this is why things are bad. It's not about all these people who just seem to be complaining about why things are bad and blaming it on the oppression of government and religion. It is the government and religion that's causing all this, and not the people who are saying that it's right. So all these things, finally it's getting through to people's heads. I declare and I challenge all mankind to contradict my declaration that no man could give any account of the order of Freemasonry, of its origin, of its history, of its object, nor any explanation of its mysteries and symbols, which do not leave in mind in total uncertainty on all these points. Every mind is entitled, therefore, to give any explanation of the symbols in the system of the doctrine that he can render palatable. And we're going to go more into that in symbolism, and that how now that I'm actually looking into Johann Adam Weishaupt, because it's like, you know, I don't want to anything deal with Illuminati. I don't want to know about Adam Weishaupt back then, right? Because I kind of looked at the conspiracy theorists and go, why would I want to look at a person like that? And then I realized, well, the people who are in control, you know, they why would, like, let's look at the people in control, who they do not want people to look at. One of the people you do want to look at is Adam Weishaupt in detail. You look at Adam Weishaupt in detail, it's like, now you know why they don't want people looking to Adam Weishaupt in detail. It's like he's just another contributing member of you know, someone who wants freedom for all of humankind. They don't want that, right? So that he more than 2 centuries ago understands this, which I understand finally now after living 42 years. Awesome. I feel like I'm on the right track. Because it's like I did not come up with my explanations of symbols through Adam Weishaupt. All of them came before I even knew that Adam Weishaupt had the same explanation and the same account of the Freemasonry, right? It's like no one knows. You know, it's been held secret so long, you know. It's like, how does anyone know for sure? That's the thing about power. Is like, if you're not the one who's in charge and you're not sure if you're the one in charge, how do you know all the things that you're currently in charge of is what you're actually currently in charge of? Everything is such a secret. It's just crazy. It was just kind of like power. Everyone thinks that once you become more powerful, you go up through the ranks. You know, it's like Freemasonry, that whole pyramid scheme. You go up to the top of the pyramid, you're less free. Each time you gain more power, you know, just like with Taoism, you're less and less free. You can't do what you want to do because there's someone at the top who expects you to control those at the bottom, therefore is trying to control you to control the others, therefore you're being controlled. You're not free to do what you want except to those who are below you. But the top want you to do things that you maybe not want to do, and there's can't stop doing, because then you're going to be reprimanded and lose your position, lose your BXL, you know, murder, tortured, whatever. It's like it's just like being in military. You gotta follow the hierarchy, you gotta follow orders. If not too bad. And the higher up you go until you're the highest, you've got to listen to what everyone else does. And then finally you get to the high point. Right, you're number one. You're the champion, right? You're like in sports. Thing is, everyone wants to get there where you're at. So you still aren't free to just leave, to do what you want, because you gotta just basically spend all your time trying to stay at the top. You know, but it's very easy to see. It's very easy to understand that. All right. So key factors for research. Not search again, you know, like don't just reread all these people. Look, just first find out about the person that you're reading, whatever information that they're giving you. Find out who they are, what their name is, what their beliefs are, what they support, what other things that they talk about. You know, are they just about being opposed to this philosophy or this religious concept or this form of government or this political aspect? It's like, what influences, what is their aim, what is their goal? If you don't know who they are, don't listen to them. If you, that's the most important thing. If you can't refute their sources, or they don't list any sources, again, take what they're saying as a grain of salt. Look at who else is saying the same thing, and look at who else is saying something almost exactly opposite. Very much like I did in this video. Basically, look at who's the enemies, what they're saying, look at the supporters, look at what they're saying, what do they agree on, but then what do they agree on about that they are very opposed against? Because they can agree on Adam Weishaupt is very much opposed against religion and government, and they want total freedom, but one side doesn't like that, one side does like that, right? So that's what we're getting about that point. And then you're going to watch. You're going to read about the people who are against the Illuminati, against Adam Weishaupt, are going to be against Thomas Jefferson. They're going to be against Bishop James Madison. Are they going to be for James Robertson? Probably. Are they going to be for Burial? Jesuit priests? Yes, probably. Are they going to be for Jedediah Morse? Yeah, probably, right? So see where they fit in as far as what they say about Adam Weishaupt, and whether they agree with it or disagree with it. So that's very important to do, and very deistic, not atheistic, deistic in approach, because you're using your rational mind, your logical mind, right? You can think this out. What was given to you or taught to you. You can even get to, that's just another way of getting to illumination. There's very many ways, you know. It's just like the Tao. Any way that you can get there, get there. You know, don't think that there's only one way, and anyone that says it's one way is clearly wrong. All right. So the term Illuminati did not originate from Johann Adam Weishaupt. It existed as early as the Gnostic Christians, or even before. Remember, they mentioned the earliest account that was found was in 1492. Leading back to the Gnostic Christians. Excuse me. Now, he's the founder of the Bavarian Illuminati, not just the Illuminati. Much like Bavaria wasn't the founder of cream, he found a version of cream called Bavarian cream, right? Okay. Deism is an important factor to consider even until today. We will go over into deism more later. Now, deism, man, I think when I was looking into deism as a subject to go over, my favorite part is Thomas Paine, right? And a letter that Benjamin Franklin wrote to Thomas Paine saying, do not publish The Age of Reason. And the reason for it was because, look, these people need religion. Could you imagine these people not having religion and their morality in check by religion, as bad as religion is? that was Benjamin Franklin's take on it. This is hilarious. Because he was also a supporter, right? He's just like, look, it's fine to have your thoughts, but this place in time, we're not ready to have those types of things said. And if you say it, man, they're all going to gun for you. And then what we know is after 220, 30, or whatever years later, people still aren't ready for people saying it. Right? Like when I say it or other people say it, man, you get shut down, you get yelled at, you get censored, you get dislikes, you get people who try to troll. I mean, it's crazy. It's like, what? I thought this was a free, a country of free people. It doesn't seem that way, right? Well, they are free to do what they want, for whatever you say. Well, I guess that is true. So, but anyone who wants to speak out against the establishment, ooh, man, attacked. Who are these ones attacking? You won't know. All right, it is almost year 2021. What is the New World Order? Is it one world government? Is it one world religion? If it's either of those or both, then it adamantly opposes what Johann Adam Weishaupt had in mind with the Bavarian Illuminati. So, if you think the Illuminati is behind one world government, you're clearly wrong because you don't know what Illuminati means. You think Illuminati is behind one world religion, you obviously are wrong because you don't know what Illuminati is. Find out what Illuminati is and you'll realize, has nothing to do with the controlling powers of today and of yesterday and of years and decades and centuries of control. It has nothing to do with that. It is very much opposed to all of what has been in control for such a long, long time. It's gotten to the point where people have been, you know, witnessing bad things for so long. You know, they're okay with the bad things going on because they don't know anything else, right? Just like, yeah, we could go into that. Analogies, maybe in the symbology. All right, it's getting lengthy, almost 2 hours now. All right, so note the opponents of Johann Adam Weishaupt. They are all supporters of either government or religion, and both are very much against deism. All right, so just look into who opposes Johann Adam Weishaupt, who they are, what they're saying, and what they support. If they're opposing him, see what they support. In you know, it's like, hey, I really don't like this. Here's what I want, right? Look at that point in that way. Now, also note the supporters of Johann Adam Weishaupt. Right? Notable people like Thomas Jefferson and Bishop James Madison. You've got very founders of America, and you've got people you don't really know about in history. They're just people. They don't have. They weren't in charge of governments. You know, they're just mostly in charge of religion. Now, both understand, you know, both the opponents and supporters, Weishaupt's attempts, but Thomas Jefferson and Bishop James Madison, they note that the need for secrecy was not due to having the Illuminati act as a mystery school, but to hide from the governments and religions at that time from being shut down. The idea was to make public to everyone, not a select few. And again, that's why books were written by Adam Weishaupt and spread, because he figured, well, this is the only way to spread it now is just publish it and people read it. So this is the end. I think it was illuminating, let's just say, that I did my research on Johann Adam Weishaupt finally, and found out there wasn't a lot of information. I think I would love to read more about his works. Again, I may not be able to. I'll have to figure out how to get those translated. Maybe when I learn German, I'll translate it myself. But again, most people are just gonna be like, no, devil stuff, and like, you shouldn't look into Adam Weishaupt to read any of his works. It's devilry, it's satanic, and all this other stuff. It's like, no. Instead, you should watch music videos. How about that? You should watch more political mainstream news stuff, right? You should watch more Hollywood movies. How about that? Oh my goodness. Anyways, thank you for joining me. I'll either do the video on symbolism next, or maybe on deism. There's so many topics to go, and a lot of it all dives into, just starts to converge, right? When we go into deism, we're going to actually see parallels of deism in paganism and in Taoism. You know, so basically the Age of Enlightenment is into going back into these pre-Abrahamic religions and just religions in general that stemmed from like the very physical adaptations of it, like in Greek, in Roman mythologies and stuff like that. So I don't know, that's why I kind of want to have someone else to have a conversation with, which I'm hoping to have CG Dolan come back. I may invite someone from the past again to have conversations on this as well. Maybe even a group talk. Let's see. I think people are busy this time of year, so I understand their holy days that they're celebrating. Heck, even my wife's family and my my family. I don't celebrate those holy days. I don't celebrate any holy days. Every day is I don't know how to say it, but anyways, it can be tough. Like my dog has been having seizures. He's up on epilepsy medicine, and I've been staying up with him. I gotta go check on him, see if he needs to go use the restroom, and he's okay. Hopefully he turns out okay. He's in pain, and I feel like, you know, what's the right amount of time to just, you know, release him from his pain. Neighbor of mine, half at the other end of the block. Don't really know them too much. I just know that they have barking dogs whenever I walk my dog. Their garage was on fire last night. One of the ladies was just screaming, "Help, help!" By then the sirens were blazing from fire trucks and whatnot. So when I went out to see, it's just flames, all just rolling up in the air. It's like just kind of glad that the fire trucks got there to prevent the spread from the garage to the house and to other houses. But yeah, it's crazy. I don't know if anyone got hurt or injured or anything like that, but most likely not, because it was a garage. But you know, the pets were in the garage. Who knows? It's a horrible way to go. So the fight's there for me as far as locally, but also, you know, that's just what I'm having to deal with, and I'm okay with that. All right, so thank you for joining me tonight. Join me another night. I don't know when exactly I'll do something. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I do isn't in the form of like a PowerPoint presentation. You know, it's like I go into the non-PowerPoint presentation, just browsers and, you know, all the web pages and stuff like that for you to look at anyway. So it's like there's really no point for this. But I will revisit Adam Weishaupt Illuminati in the future when it gets into deism and when it gets into symbolism. It really ties into Gnostic ideas, Taoist ideas, very pagan, shamanistic, animist type of not concepts, but explanations. It's we'll see how it went from old age to enlightenment age, right? The anti-enlightenment age, to the age of information, the age of misinformation, to the new age, which is the old age, come back again. But because no one knows any of the origins, right, of any of these mysteries that have been passed along in secrecy when they didn't have to be. I mean, a lot of these secret societies and stuff were supported by many of the controlled governments and religions of the time. So when there was no need to, so they're for the select elite or L-lights. Anyways, that's it for tonight. Thank you for joining me, and have a good night.